this is Philadelphia Experiment Part 3. This is continuance of the Philadelphia Experiment because this Philadelphia Experiment, alongside with the Rainbow Project and the Phoenix Project, has really stepped us into the quantum realm, quantum physics. So we are really going to be talking a lot about physics, but overall making it conclusive for us to be able to understand it. Albert Einstein is going to be channeling all day, basically, to help us understand these like different quantum physicists, quantum physics, as the physicist that he was, and understanding them at a whole quantum level, not just science, but then also spirituality, energetically, and that's really when we transcend, when we understand these grander concepts that make up the material, the photons, the atoms, the electrons, everything that you are, that make you up to be who you are in the physical, in a carbon base, and then down to physical material, whether it's a physical material that has a consciousness or a more or non-consciousness, like say a chair and so on, wouldn't have consciousness completely, but it just still has atoms to materialize. Einstein is such an incredible being. He was such an incredible being. It's just such an honor to be talking for him. The President Roosevelt, they didn't quite say, like, those are top secret files of what some of the work that he was doing there with the government. And he was actually, at some point, he was head of kind of the Navy.
The Philadelphia Experiment, as I previously stated, locked up at the Phoenix Project, and it could only lock up on a very critical date. And that critical date was the 12th of August, 1943, and the 12th of August, 1983. Theoretically, it could have locked up in 1963, but there was no ongoing experiment at that time, such as the Phoenix Project, which was required. And the important phase of the Phoenix Project was from 1975 through 1983, when they developed the capability of time travel and the time tunnels, as Dr. Carl Sagan liked to call them, the wormholes in space. Wormholes in space and time. They had the capability and was fully functional. Someone had to know, in order to get these two experiments on either end to lock up, that there were critical dates in which it would work, and the rest of the...
Okay, someone had to know. So let's go a bit further into it. Do you remember those Pleiadians that we discovered in part 2 and how they are different, but they were on Earth? And we also learned that channeling, which Nikola Tesla began this very, very important extra sensitive series. And he started telling us that he was worried when I'm not worried, but he was a little bit kind of like in his higher self form, like he had a feeling like, what is Aurora going to think of me when I discovered what I did? And that's when we discovered that a lot of these technologies that they're using now were basically invented by him, but in his form, he was, positively inventing them. At some point, he creates, with the help of these, because he's talking to the two ETs, no one knows who he's talking to because Nikola Tesla's keeping it secret for about 30 years. He's talking to them. There's articles about it. We talked about it in the first videos again. Turns out that, it starts off very positive, the Venusians, but somehow the density changes and he begins to talk to, and without knowing, he begins to talk to negative polarized Pleiadians. These negative polarized Pleiadians are still on Earth, actually. And if you meet them or see them, if some of you might be watching them, especially in the UFO communities. In the UFO communities, majority of these people are actually the aliens themselves, talking about alien disclosure, and they're the actual aliens that are putting you in further inverted matrices. One of these, remember there was, and I'm going to go more into details, okay? So do you remember when we talked about how Roosevelt met, but by the communications of Nikola Tesla, Roosevelt met on a specific location on water, on the ocean, that so Roosevelt met up with these Pleiadian beings that Tesla introduced him to. these Pleiadian beings were able to come through, and what Nikola Tesla is showing me is that he created a dimensional portal, like a particle accelerator. And but it was because the Pleiadians were telling him exactly how to create it, because whether he was spiritual or not, or whether he believed he had abilities, he was channeling, you know, high consciousness intelligence. So as he's channeling this information is how he gets the information, how to build a time-space continuance, really, to allow for these Pleiadians to come through. And then eventually, basically, Roosevelt again meets in the water with these Pleiadians. Now, some of these people are actually, like I said, in the UFO communities, and explains in this book here, right? The Philadelphia experiment explains how their skin is like, they look just like humans, you know, even their height. And they have, their skin is, it is different. It shines a little more, and it's basically like a lighter green. So, so in order to blend in, what they do is they bleach their skin. So that's the only way to get kind of like a most natural pigmentation to what humanity has here. So they try to pass off as Caucasians. But this white is freakishly white. I mean, it's not going to look natural, obviously. It's kind of like, you know, painting something that's going to have that hue of the white paint. So their skin, so keep an eye on UFO disclosure people who then the AI Archon system, and you look at them and they look different because their skin is abnormally white, like baby powder. What I'm going to tell you is that what I saw is this supposed Pleiadian that the UFO community keeps putting in like this pedestal is